The loudest humiliation of my life wasn't a whisper behind my back. It was the slap my mother gave me in front of hundreds of people on the day I graduated. I can still feel the sting on my cheek, the echo of her hand striking my face, and the silence that fell across the auditorium as every eye turned toward me. In that moment, standing on the stage in a cheap graduation gown, I wasn't a student. I wasn't a daughter. I wasn't even a person. I was a public disgrace. At least, that's what she made me feel like. My mother didn't care that I had worked for years in secret to earn that degree. She didn't care that it was the first real achievement of my life. She didn't care that the ceremony meant the world to me. All she cared about was reminding me, loudly, painfully, and cruelly, that in her eyes, I was never meant to rise. But what she didn't know was that her slap didn't end my story. It started it. Because 1 week later, a millionaire CEO knocked on our broken front door with a truth my mother never wanted me to hear, a truth that would destroy every lie she built to keep me small. And the girl she tried to humiliate in public would soon become the woman she could never control again. Hello, my name is Amanda, and I was 22 years old on the day my entire life flipped in front of hundreds of people. I wasn't supposed to be there that morning. Not at a campus. Not in a graduation gown. Not receiving a degree. My mother never allowed me to study. She always said education was only for my younger sister, Madison, her favorite child. According to her, I was meant to work in the workshop, pay bills, and stay in my place. But she never knew that for 2 years I had been studying through an online university. At night, quietly, with earbuds in so she wouldn't hear lectures playing. Using old secondhand books I kept hidden in the attic. My classes, assignments, exams, all were done while pretending I was resting after work. My mother never checked. She always assumed I was too tired or too unimportant to do anything with my life. So when the online university invited students to attend their in-person graduation ceremony, I knew I couldn't miss it. It was the one moment I had earned for myself. I bought a cheap gown with my saved tips. I told my mother I had extra work at the workshop. And I went. When they called my name, Amanda Carter, distinction honors, my heart felt like it finally belonged to me. I took a step toward the dean, ready to accept my diploma, and that's when it happened. The auditorium doors slammed open. My mother stomped inside, her face twisted with rage, her eyes burning like she had discovered the ultimate betrayal. People turned to look. The whispers started instantly. My body froze. She marched straight up the stage. Before I could even breathe, her hand came across my face and slapped me so hard the microphone screeched with feedback. The entire hall went silent. My cheeks stung, my eyes watered, and the diploma shook in my trembling hand. "How dare you study behind my back? How dare you lie to me?" she screamed. Teachers looked stunned. Students covered their mouths. Some parents stood up. My mother didn't care. She pointed at me and shouted, "Your sister deserves an education, not you. You're supposed to work, not pretend to be someone important." My sister, Madison, sat in the front row with a proud smile, as if this humiliation made her day. My mother grabbed my wrist and dragged me off the stage. I didn't fight. I didn't speak. I was too shocked to move on my own. Outside the auditorium, she threw my cap on the ground and spat out the words that would echo in my mind for a long time. "This is the last time you ever try to rise above your level. Do you understand me?" She stormed away, leaving me in the parking lot in my wrinkled gown, holding a diploma I worked for in silence and pain. I thought that was the worst day of my life. But exactly 1 week later, a millionaire CEO would stand at our front door, asking for me, defending me, and revealing a secret that would shake my entire family to the core. My story didn't end with that slap. It began with it. After the graduation disaster, the ride home felt heavier than any silence I had ever lived through. My mother didn't speak a single word to me. My sister kept smirking through the car window, texting someone, probably telling everyone how funny it was to watch me get slapped on stage. When we reached home, the real punishment began. My mother shoved the door open and walked inside without looking at me. I followed, still holding my diploma, unsure where to put it. Before I could breathe, she snapped. Throw that trash away. You're never using it. I didn't argue. Arguing only ever made things worse. Our house wasn't big, but it had two different worlds inside it. One world belonged to Madison, the golden child. She had her own decorated bedroom, new clothes every month, a vanity with expensive makeup, and a personal tutor who came 3 times a week. She didn't lift a finger in the house. Not one chore. Not one responsibility. The other world was mine. Small. Quiet. Exhausting. I slept in a tiny corner room that used to be a storage closet. I cooked, cleaned, did laundry, repaired things, and worked in a workshop after school to help pay bills. The workshop was loud, greasy, and filled with heat and metal dust, but my mother loved reminding me that my job there was all I was good for. She always told me, Madison is meant for success. You're meant to help her get there. That sentence became the background music of my entire childhood. Even after the graduation incident, nothing changed. If anything, it got worse. My mother decided I needed to pay for the embarrassment I caused her. She doubled my workload. I had to clean the whole house before sunrise, cook breakfast for everyone, go to the workshop, come home, cook dinner, do laundry, iron Madison's clothes, and make her bed. Madison would walk around with her phone in hand, giving me orders like she owned me. If I moved too slowly, my mother grabbed whatever was closest, a towel, a spoon, a slipper, and hit me on the arm or shoulder. Never too hard to leave a big mark. Just enough to remind me of my place. The worst part? My father never said anything. He just sat quietly in the living room, staring at the TV or pretending not to hear anything. Sometimes I wondered if he felt guilty. Sometimes I wondered if he even noticed me. During those nights, when everyone slept, I would sit alone with my laptop, the same one I used for my online university, and hold my diploma in my hands. I kept it hidden in a drawer under old clothes, away from my mother's eyes. I didn't know what future I had. I didn't know how to escape this house. I didn't know if my degree would ever save me. But something inside me whispered, Amanda, hold on a little longer. I didn't understand what that meant at the time. I thought it was just hope trying to comfort me. But looking back, it was a warning, a soft signal that life was about to change in a way I could never have predicted. Because exactly 7 days after the graduation incident, a black luxury SUV rolled up in front of our house, and the man who stepped out of it would rewrite the entire story of my life. The week after my graduation felt like walking through a storm with no umbrella, no coat, and no place to hide. My mother didn't speak to me for 7 days straight. Not a single word. She didn't yell, she didn't slap me again, she didn't even look at me. Sometimes silence hurts more than screaming. Instead of talking, she punished me in other ways. She took my phone for safety. She took my small savings because I didn't deserve money. She even took the laptop I used for my online university, pretending she needed it for household things. I thought she would find the diploma in the drawer, but she never looked there. Maybe she assumed I burned it like she asked. Maybe she believed her control over me was too strong for me to disobey. Madison, of course, enjoyed every second of that week. She walked around the house like a queen, throwing her clothes on the floor for me to pick up, shouting at me if her breakfast wasn't warm enough, and complaining loudly to Mom whenever I didn't move fast enough. On the 3rd day, she snapped her fingers at me and said, "You thought getting a degree would make you better than me? Pathetic." I didn't reply. I learned long ago that replying only made things worse. Meanwhile, my father acted as if nothing strange was happening. He left for work early and came home late, always quiet. I used to think he didn't care, but slowly I realized the truth. He was scared of my mother too. Her voice controlled the entire house. Every night, when everyone was asleep, I sat on the edge of my small bed and stared at the blank wall, trying not to cry. My hands were always sore from cleaning, my back hurt from bending over laundry baskets, and my head felt heavy with worry. I had a degree. I had completed an entire online program. But what was I supposed to do with it now? I couldn't apply for jobs without a phone or computer. I couldn't leave the house because my mother made sure I was always busy. I couldn't tell anyone what was happening because she watched everything I did. Still, I tried. On the fifth day, when my mom and Madison went shopping, I walked to the public library. My hands shook the entire way. What if they came home early? What if they found out? What if this made things even worse? But I couldn't live like a prisoner anymore. I used one of the dusty old computers in the corner of the library and quietly updated my resume. It felt like a small act of rebellion, like a tiny piece of control over my own life. I applied to 3 jobs. Nothing fancy. Just entry-level office positions. I didn't expect anything to happen. But something happened. On the 7th day, a peaceful Sunday morning, I was sweeping the front porch while my mother and sister argued inside about brunch plans. My father sat silently at the dining table, pretending to read a newspaper. That's when I heard the sound of an engine. A deep, smooth, expensive engine. I turned my head slowly, and my breath caught in my throat. A black luxury SUV stopped right in front of our small, worn-out house. The windows were tinted. The paint was so shiny it reflected the sun like a mirror. My mother rushed to the doorway, confused. Madison followed, adjusting her hair, thinking maybe a rich neighbor was visiting. But then the back door of the SUV opened, and a tall man in a tailored suit stepped out. He looked like he belonged on the cover of a business magazine, confident, calm, and completely out of place in our neighborhood. He walked toward us with purpose. My mother straightened her posture, putting on her sweetest smile. My sister did the same. But then he stopped right in front of our gate, looked directly at me, and said words that froze my mother in shock. "I'm here to speak with Amanda Carter." Everything in the house, my mother's face, Madison's posture, even the air itself, changed in that single second. I swallowed hard. My quiet life of fear was about to collide with a truth I never expected. The man in the suit stepped closer, and the sunlight caught the silver watch on his wrist, the kind of watch that costs more than everything in our entire house. He carried an air of calm confidence, like someone used to making impossible things happen. My mother blinked rapidly, confused. Madison pushed her hair back, smiling as if she expected him to say her name. But he didn't look at them. His eyes stayed locked on me. "Are you Amanda?" he asked. I swallowed hard and nodded. "Yes, I am." He gave a small, respectful smile. "My name is Ethan Walsh." The name hit me instantly. I knew it. Everyone knew it. Ethan Walsh, the 38-year-old tech millionaire who built one of the fastest-growing software companies in the country. He was constantly in news articles, on business podcasts, and in interviews about young talent and innovation. But what was he doing in front of my house? My mother stepped forward, forcing a laugh. "Oh, you must be here for Madison," she said proudly. "She's very talented. Straight-A student. Very beautiful, too." She pulled Madison beside her like she was presenting a prize in a contest. Ethan didn't even glance at her. "Actually," he said slowly, "I came here for Amanda." The smile on my mother's face dissolved. Madison froze, her mouth slightly open. "What?" my mother muttered. "Why her?" Ethan ignored the question. "May I come in? I'd like to speak to Amanda about an opportunity." My mother, suddenly anxious, stepped aside. Yes, please come in." Inside, the house felt different. Smaller. Quieter. Tense. My mother rushed to clean the table that was already clean. Madison checked her reflection in the microwave door, even though no one cared. My father peeked over his newspaper, stunned. Ethan remained calm, his posture steady, his eyes focused only on me. He turned to my mother and said politely, "Is it okay if I speak with her privately?" My mother's eyes widened. "Absolutely not. Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of us." Ethan paused a moment, then nodded respectfully. "All right," he said. "Then I'll speak openly." He looked at me with a warm, reassuring expression. "Amanda," he began, "I reviewed your application for the junior analyst position at my company." My heart nearly stopped. My application? The one I submitted at the library? The one I thought would get lost in a pile of hundreds? Ethan continued, "Your analytical test results were exceptional. Better than people with years of professional experience." My mother's head snapped toward me. "You applied for a job behind my back?" she hissed. Who allowed you? Ethan didn't flinch. He simply continued speaking. My hiring team sent me your file because your approach to problem-solving stood out. So, I reviewed your full performance myself. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Then, he said something I never expected to hear in my life. Amanda, I want to offer you a full-time position at my company. Starting salary, $50,000 a year. Benefits included. Training provided. And an optional housing allowance if your home environment is difficult. The entire room went silent. My mother's hand flew to her chest. Madison gasped loudly. My father dropped his newspaper.
And I
just stood there, frozen, unable to breathe. Hey, are you serious? I whispered. Ethan nodded. Very serious. You have potential that can't be ignored. My mother suddenly stepped between us. And oh, she snapped. She can't take your job. My younger daughter is the one who deserves opportunities, not her. Madison nodded quickly, her voice breaking. Why her? She's nothing. She's just Amanda. Ethan's face changed. Still calm but sharper. Stronger. He turned to my mother and said quietly, You've held her back long enough. My knees nearly gave out. My mother's expression twisted with anger and fear. You have no right to say that, she shouted. Ethan didn't raise his voice. But his next words shook the entire room. Actually, I do, because I know exactly what you did to her. Everything inside me went still. My mother's face drained of color. Madison's smile vanished. My father looked terrified. Ethan placed the folder on the table, thick, full of documents, and looked me in the eyes. Amanda, he said softly, it's time you knew the truth. My heartbeat felt too loud for the room. Ethan's words hung in the air like a storm about to break. My mother stood there frozen, her face stiff and pale, as if someone had pulled the ground out from beneath her feet. Madison took a small step back, confused. My father stared at the folder like it was a bomb waiting to explode. Ethan gently opened it. Amanda, he said, this isn't the first time I've seen your name. I blinked. What do you mean? He pulled out a stack of printed emails, old ones, and slid them across the table toward me. When you were 10, he explained, I visited your school for a community outreach program. I was impressed by a few students in the math club. You were one of them. My chest tightened. Math club. I remembered that.
Just barely.
It was the one place at school where I felt smart, where I felt like I belonged. Ethan continued. After that visit, I created a small scholarship fund for gifted children. Your teacher personally recommended your name. She said you had exceptional potential. I stared at him, stunned, my throat dry. I had never known this. Not even a hint. My mother suddenly snapped. That's a lie. Amanda wasn't smart. Madison was the one. Ethan held up a hand calmly.
No.
I confirmed everything. I spoke with the school last week. My mother's lips pressed into a thin, shaking line. Madison looked at her, confused and worried. Ethan turned back to me. For 3 years, I sponsored your school fees and materials through a charity organization. Every year, I sent funds for your advancement. I felt my eyes sting. 3 years? Someone had believed in me all that time. Even when I didn't know. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Ethan's voice softened. But your advancement was stopped, he said. When you were around 13, someone signed documents asking the school to remove you from all advanced programs and after-school clubs. I already guessed who did it. Slowly, painfully, I turned to look at my mother. She stood stiff as stone, her jaw tight, her fingers gripping her dress hard enough to wrinkle it. Ethan placed another paper on the table. This is the signature, he said quietly. My hands trembled as I slid the page closer. It was hers. My mother's.
Clear as day.
I felt something heavy crack open inside my chest, a hurt so deep it didn't feel like pain, it felt like betrayal becoming real. My mother finally spoke, her voice shaking with anger rather than guilt. That scholarship, that money, all it did was confuse her, she snapped. I took it because she didn't deserve higher education. Madison did. Madison's eyes widened. Mom, you took Amanda's money? My mother glared at her. I did what was best for the family. Ethan stared at her with controlled disappointment. You stole her future, he said calmly. You stole opportunities meant for her. My mother jabbed a finger toward me. I protected her from disappointment. She wasn't meant to be educated. She was meant to help this household, not run off chasing dreams. My voice cracked as I finally spoke. Why didn't you ever tell me? I whispered. Why didn't you let me try? She didn't hesitate. Because you don't deserve it, she hissed. Madison was always the smart one. You were supposed to work so she could shine. My heart dropped. Madison looked down, suddenly uncomfortable, like she wasn't sure she wanted to be part of this conversation anymore. Ethan stepped closer to me. Amanda, he said gently, I don't offer jobs lightly. I saw your test results. I saw your patterns, your logic, your mind. You have real talent. He took a breath and continued firmly. And I'm offering you the $50,000 position because you earned it, not because of charity, not because of pity, and certainly not because of your family. My mother shot up from her chair. She's not taking your job, she screamed. I forbid it. I felt something inside me snap, a small, quiet thread that had held me in place my whole life. Ethan looked at her with a calm strength that filled the entire room. With all due respect, he said, you can't forbid a grown woman from choosing her future. My mother's face reddened in fury. She lives in MY House. Ethan's voice didn't waver. Then maybe it's time she had a choice of where she wants to live. The room went silent. Completely silent. My mother shook her head, muttering under her breath. Madison looked terrified now, not for me, but for what this meant for her comfort. My father slowly lowered his newspaper, realizing everything was crumbling. Ethan placed the folder back into his briefcase and looked directly at me. Amanda, the offer stands. And there's something else I haven't told you yet, something you deserve to know. My breath caught. Something else? His expression softened with a kind of sadness, like he knew the next words would change everything. The secret your mother hid from you isn't just about the scholarship, he said quietly. It's much bigger than that. I felt my heart race. What secret? I whispered. Ethan hesitated for a long moment, then finally opened his mouth. And that's when my mother screamed, Stop! Don't you dare tell her. But it was too late. Ethan was ready to reveal the truth. The room felt like it stopped breathing. My mother stood frozen, her hand lifted in the air as if she could physically stop the truth from escaping Ethan's mouth. Madison looked terrified. My father stared at the table, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. And Ethan? He looked at me with a mix of sadness and determination. Amanda, he said softly, the scholarship wasn't the only thing your mother took from you. My throat tightened. What do you mean? He took a deep breath and opened another envelope from his briefcase, thicker than the last one. When he pulled out the papers inside, my mother's entire body stiffened. Please, she whispered under her breath. It wasn't the tone of an angry mother. It was the tone of someone begging to keep a lie alive. Ethan continued, anyway. These documents, he said, spreading them across the table, are evaluations, recommendations, and progress reports from your teachers, all saying the same thing. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. They believed you were gifted. Not average.
Not ordinary.
Gifted. I stared at him, disbelief swirling in my chest. Gifted? Me? The girl who scrubbed floors? The girl who hid her books so she wouldn't get hit? The girl who was told every day she wasn't good enough? Ethan nodded slowly, as if reading my thoughts. You were selected for an advanced placement program, a special track for high-potential students. It was meant to start when you were 11. My heart skipped. I remembered something. A faint memory. A teacher once asking me why I didn't show up for a meeting. Me saying, "What meeting?" Her confused expression. At the time, I thought it was a misunderstanding. But now, Ethan pointed at the signature on the withdrawal form. Your mother signed to remove you from the program before you could even start. My mother's voice cracked. She didn't need advanced classes. She had chores. We needed money. And Madison needed extra tutoring. He cut her off gently. This wasn't about money, Ethan said firmly. The program was free, fully sponsored. It even offered a monthly allowance to support the student. My eyes widened. Allowance? I whispered. He nodded.
Yes.
A small stipend meant to help with books, school supplies, and transportation. All of that money was sent directly to your household for 3 years. I felt sick. 3 years? Allowance? Supplies? All gone? Madison looked between us, horrified. Mom, did you take Amanda's money too? My mother didn't answer.
She didn't need to.
Her silence was the loudest truth in the room. But Ethan wasn't done. There's more, he said quietly. Your teachers believed you were a top candidate for a national youth science program. You were supposed to be nominated. I stared at him, speechless.
Nominated? Me?
But the nomination was withdrawn. Ethan continued. The letter says your mother claimed you had no interest in academics and wanted to focus on house responsibilities. My stomach twisted. I felt years of exhaustion, confusion, fear, all crashing together. All the nights I wondered if I was stupid. All the times I felt ashamed for wanting more. All the moments I believed I wasn't enough. None of it had been true. It wasn't me. It was her. She took everything before I even knew I had it. My voice finally cracked through the silence.
Why?
I whispered. Why did you do this to me? My mother's eyes filled with anger, not guilt. Because you were never meant for that life, she screamed. Madison needed the support more. She was the one meant to shine. You. She pointed at me like I was dirt. You were supposed to help this family survive, not run off chasing dreams that never belonged to you. My chest cracked open. It felt like someone took every piece of me and scattered it across the room. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. Amanda, none of this is your fault. You were robbed of opportunities you earned. Your potential was stolen. My eyes filled with tears. I didn't want to cry. All this time, I thought I wasn't enough. But the truth was that someone decided I wasn't allowed to be enough. Ethan gently placed the papers back into the folder. You deserved so much more, he said, and that's why I'm offering you this job. Because you are talented. You are capable. And you're not going to lose any more years to other people's decisions. My mother slammed her hand on the table. She's not leaving this house. Ethan didn't even blink. Then she can come live in the company-provided housing, he said calmly. We offer that option for employees facing difficult home environments. My mother froze, stunned. Madison gasped. Wait, she gets free housing? My father slowly lifted his eyes, as if waking up from a long sleep. But Ethan wasn't finished. He turned to me. You don't have to decide today, he said gently. But you do need to know the truth. My voice trembled as I whispered. I want to know everything. Ethan nodded. I'll tell you the rest, he said softly. But it might hurt. I wiped my eyes. It already hurts. He opened the second envelope. And that's when he revealed the part of the secret that would change my entire life. Not just my past, but my future. Ethan placed the second envelope on the table. It looked heavier than the first, as if the truth inside it carried weight no paper should carry. My mother took a step forward, panic flashing across her face. Ethan, please, she whispered harshly. Don't do this. But he gently pushed the envelope toward me instead. Amanda, he said softly, you deserve to know what was done in your name. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter. Old. Stamped by the State Education Board. Ethan pointed to the highlighted line. This, he said quietly, is the document your mother submitted when you were 13. My eyes moved slowly across the words. Request for evaluation, mental and emotional unfitness for advanced academic placement. My heart stopped. My breath hitched. I read it again and again. No. No, she wouldn't. She couldn't. But she did. She told the school I wasn't mentally fit for higher education. She told them I couldn't handle academic stress. She told them I needed to focus on simple tasks around the house instead of unnecessary studies. My hands dropped to my lap. The paper fell. My chest ached so deeply I felt nauseous. I looked at her, my mother, the woman who raised me.
Why?
I whispered. My voice didn't even sound like mine. She crossed her arms, her chin high, her eyes cold. Because it was the truth, she snapped. You weren't meant for school. You were meant to help this family. Madison needed the opportunities. You didn't. Madison's face went pale. Mom, you said Amanda didn't like school. My mother glared at her. She didn't need school. I felt the tears spill over. All those years, I whispered. I thought I wasn't smart. I thought I wasn't good enough. I thought. My voice cracked. I thought something was wrong with me. My mother didn't blink. She didn't soften. She didn't apologize. Instead, she said the one sentence that broke something inside me permanently. You were easier to control when you didn't believe in yourself. That was it. The truth. The real truth. Not about money. Not about my sister. Not about family.
Control.
She didn't want a daughter. She wanted a servant. Ethan stepped between us, his voice firm. Amanda, you are not staying here. Not after everything I've seen. My mother spun toward him, furious. You have no right to take her. She belongs in this home. I stared at her through tears. I don't belong to you, I said quietly. I'm not a piece of furniture. My mother's eyes widened in shock, as if she couldn't believe I dared to speak. Madison finally spoke, her voice trembling. Mom, maybe we should let her go. Maybe Amanda. Shut up, my mother screamed, turning on her instantly. Do you want to lose everything? Do you want to do chores? Do you want to work in a workshop like her? Madison shrank back, silent. My father stood up slowly from his chair. For a moment, I thought he was going to defend me. But he didn't. He sighed and said, without looking at me, maybe Amanda should just do what your mother says. It keeps the peace. I felt something die inside me. Not physically. Emotionally. A part of me that still hoped he cared even a little. Ethan looked disgusted. This environment is toxic, he said firmly. Amanda, you don't need their permission. You have a place at my company. You have housing if you want it. You have a future beyond this house. My mother let out a wild laugh. She won't last a week in your company. She can't survive without us. I looked at Ethan. His eyes were steady, supportive, believing in me in a way no one ever had. Something inside me finally clicked. A small voice, the same one that whispered to me late at night, finally grew loud enough to hear. You can leave. You deserve more than this. You are not their property. I wiped my tears. Then I stood up. My mother's face twisted. What do you think you're doing? My voice was soft, but it didn't shake anymore. I'm choosing myself. Madison gasped. My father sat down again, defeated. My mother shook with rage. You walk out of this house, she said slowly, and you are no longer my daughter. I took a deep breath. I guess, I said quietly, I never really was. Ethan gently touched my shoulder. Pack what you need, he said. I'll wait. I walked toward my room, the small storage closet room that held my whole life, and gathered my few belongings.
Clothes.
A toothbrush. My diploma. That was all I had. And for the first time, it felt like enough. When I stepped back into the living room, my mother looked at me with pure hatred. You're going to regret this, she hissed. Maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't. But for the first time in my life, the fear didn't control me. I walked out the door. Ethan followed behind me. And as the door closed, I realized something. I wasn't walking away from a home. I was walking toward a life. When I stepped outside the house, the air felt different. Lighter. Colder. Sharper. Not because the weather changed, but because I changed. For the first time in 22 years, I wasn't walking to the workshop. I wasn't walking to clean someone's mess. I wasn't walking under someone's orders. I was walking toward my own future. Ethan opened the door of the black SUV for me, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I hesitated for a second, glancing back at the house I scrubbed, cleaned, cooked in, cried in, and suffered in. The door stayed closed. No one followed me. No one called my name. No one told me to come back.
I realized then. They never wanted me. They only wanted what I could do for them.
I turned away and got into the car. The moment the door shut, the silence felt warm instead of heavy. The leather seats smelled expensive, like a world I was never allowed to touch. Ethan sat beside me, buckling his seatbelt. "You okay?" he asked softly. I nodded, though I wasn't sure if it was true. My hands were still shaking, not from fear, but from the shock of being free. He didn't rush me. He didn't make me talk. He just let me breathe. As the car pulled away from the house, I watched it shrink in the rearview mirror. The broken fence, the fading paint, the small window of my little storage room bedroom. It all looked smaller than I remembered. Maybe because it never fit the person I was meant to become. "Where are we going?" I finally asked, my voice soft. "To your new apartment," Ethan said. "It's part of the employee housing we provide. Safe, quiet, furnished. You'll have your own room, kitchen, everything you need." I stared at him. "Why are you doing all of this for me?" I asked. "You don't even know me." He turned his head slightly, watching me with calm, kind eyes. "I know enough," he said. "I know your mind. I know your potential. And I know what it's like for talent to be held down by the wrong people." I lowered my eyes, fighting the sting behind them. "You believe in me more than my own family ever did," I whispered. He didn't deny it. Instead, he said something that warmed my chest. "You don't owe your family your future. You owe yourself your chance." The words hit me deeper than he probably realized. As the car drove through the city, passing bright storefronts and tall buildings, I leaned my head against the window. I watched people walking, talking, laughing, living. And for the first time, I felt like maybe I could be one of them. Not invisible, not unwanted, not a shadow in someone else's story. Someone with dreams. Someone who mattered. 20 minutes later, the SUV turned into a gated apartment complex. Clean, modern buildings surrounded a quiet courtyard with trees and benches. Everything looked peaceful, like a place built for people who deserved rest. The car stopped in front of a small building. Ethan stepped out and opened my door again. "This is home now," he said gently. Home. The word felt foreign on my tongue. He handed me a key, a new, shiny key, not old or rusted like the ones in my mother's house. Apartment 2B. I held it in my hand, feeling its weight. Inside, the apartment was simple but beautiful. Light gray walls. A soft couch. A small kitchen with new appliances. A bed with clean white sheets. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine.
Completely mine.
I set my small bag on the floor and looked around, tears filling my eyes. Ethan watched me quietly. "If you need anything," he said, "you call me, day or night." I nodded slowly. "Thank you," I whispered, "for everything." He smiled, a warm, reassuring smile. "You earned this, Amanda. Remember that." Then he stepped out and closed the door behind him. I stood in the center of the room, listening to the soft hum of the fridge, the quietness of the apartment, the steady beating of my own heart. No shouting, no insults, no orders, no fear, just freedom. I walked to the window, looking at the city lights glowing in the distance. For the first time in my entire life, I felt safe. And deep inside, something new began to bloom, something I had never allowed myself to feel before. Hope. Little did I know, this was only the beginning. The road ahead would lead me to success my family never imagined, and a confrontation they would never forget. My first weeks at Ethan's company felt like stepping into a world I never knew existed. Everything was professional, calm, organized, the complete opposite of my old life. I had my own desk, my own computer, and people actually treated me with respect. Ethan trained me personally during the first few days. He showed me how to analyze data, how to read reports, and how to solve problems step by step. Every time I understood something quickly, he smiled like he already knew I had it in me. For the first time in my life, I felt smart, not because someone told me, but because I could see it. After 1 month, I received my first paycheck. I stared at the numbers for almost a full minute. It was more money than I ever held in my lifetime. I didn't buy anything expensive. I bought groceries, a small plant for my apartment, a notebook to write goals. Simple things. But they felt powerful. Soon my work started getting noticed. A department manager praised my reports. A senior analyst told Ethan, "She learns faster than anyone I've trained." My confidence grew quietly, day by day. Then one morning, something unexpected happened. I stepped into the office lobby, and there they were. My mother, Madison, and my father, standing together, looking like they hadn't slept all night. My mother rushed toward me first. "Amanda, sweetheart," she said with a fake smile, "we haven't seen you in weeks. You should come home." Madison stepped forward too, pretending to be emotional. "We miss you, and we need you." I stayed still.
Come.
Silent. My father finally spoke. "We're struggling. Bills, repairs, everything is falling apart. Maybe you can help us a little?" There it was. Not love. Not apology. Not regret. Just need. Money. Before I could reply, Ethan appeared beside me, his expression firm. "Amanda doesn't owe you anything," he said quietly. "Not after everything you took from her." My mother's smile vanished. Ethan continued, "She has a future now. A good one. And she won't be pulled back into a home that never valued her." My mother glared at him, then at me. "So, this is who you listen to now?" "Him," she snapped. I finally spoke. "No," I said softly. "This is who believes in me." She opened her mouth to argue, but Ethan raised his hand slightly. "This conversation is over," he said. Security gently guided them out of the building while Madison kept saying, "Amanda, don't do this. We need you." But I didn't move. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. After security escorted my family out, I stood in the lobby for a moment, letting everything sink in. The old me, the girl who obeyed, who stayed silent, who felt unworthy, would have run after them. But the new me, she stayed still. She chose herself. Later that afternoon, Ethan called me into his office. I sat across from him, expecting him to ask if I was okay. But instead, he smiled. "You handled that with more strength than most people," he said. "I'm proud of you." No one had ever said that to me before. Not once. It felt like something warm and steady spread through my chest. Not excitement, not joy, but dignity. The feeling of finally standing on my own feet. In the weeks that followed, my life changed fast. My reports became some of the most accurate in the department. I learned new software, solved complicated cases, and even trained new interns. Ethan promoted me to a higher-paying position after only 2 months. People at work started coming to me for help. They listened when I spoke. They valued my ideas. Every paycheck reminded me that I could build a life on my own, without fear, without yelling, without being treated like a shadow. My apartment slowly became a home. A real home. A place where I could breathe, rest, and dream. One evening, as I was finishing a report, Ethan stopped by my desk. "Amanda," he said, "I think you're ready for something new, something bigger." I looked up at him. "What do you mean?" He handed me a file with a new project proposal. "I want you to lead this," he said. "You're capable of more than you know." My chest tightened, not with fear, but with pride. No one had ever handed me opportunity before. Now someone was trusting me with one. That night, I walked home through the quiet courtyard of the apartment complex. The air felt cool, peaceful. I looked up at the sky, wide, open, endless. And I realized something. My mother didn't create my future. My sister didn't control my value. My past didn't define my worth.
I did.
My life didn't begin in that house where I was treated like nothing. It began the moment I walked away. The moment I chose myself. And as I stepped into my apartment, my clean, warm, quiet apartment, I whispered a small promise to myself. I will never let anyone make me feel small again. For the first time ever, I believed it. And my story was only just beginning.